Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Phenomenal Views. I'm your host Nick Smith, and I just got done watching the sequel to Grave Encounters, Grave Encounters 2. Now, as you all know, if you have watched my review for Grave Encounters, you know I absolutely loved the film of Grave Encounters. I thought it was scary, I thought it was genius, it was original-ish, it was something that I had never seen before. You know, a team of people who were like the Ghost Adventures and stuff, they're going to make an episode, and then it's when they start packing everything up, bad stuff starts to happen. I watched that movie again. That's the third time I've watched that movie. I love Grave Encounters. Now, the sequel, Grave Encounters 2, it's interesting. It's not what I was wanting it to be. Like, you know, like when I watched the first Grave Encounters, I was like, oh man, I cannot wait for the sequel. And I finally got time to watch the sequel, and when it first started out, it wasn't too bad. Like the movie starts out with like all these reviewers, like how in the with the second Blair Witch, which I've never watched, but if you watch Nostalgia Critics, Nostalgia Ween or whatever, and when he reviews Blair Witch 2, like in the beginning, it's them talking about, oh, the Blair Witch, it really happened, it was so scary, blah, 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 blah. It's like that. Like, it has, like, YouTube reviewers like myself. I'm not in the movie, but it's got, like, YouTube reviewers, and they're talking about the movie and everything, and you know, they're talking about, like, what they thought of it, and, like, if they thought it was scary. Well, then we go to this movie reviewer named Alex, who is a film student, and he's, you know, he's a movie reviewer, and he's making his own movie. And he was talking about how he didn't like the ending to Grave Encounters, and then he gets a video response on his YouTube review from someone known as Death Awaits, and it's a shot of the final survivor. I forget his from Lance, and he's in the asylum, and he's in the hospital gown, and he's going up to the camera, and he looks all crazy, and so like that's the part, and like he's like, this is a part of the film I've never seen before. So he starts doing research, and he even puts out on YouTube, he's like, hey, I'm trying to look up some research on Grave Encounters, if it really happened, you know, do all this, you know, send me some links and stuff like that. So then he gets the phone number of the actor whose real name is Sean. And him and his friends. Oh, by the way, his friends, it's Alex, his roommate, Trevor, this one girl, Jen, and this other girl named Tessa, who I think they introduced her in the beginning of the film. I think she was like making out with a chick at a party. The film starts out at a party, or that's like the second scene of the film. But they're all film students. They're all working on this film, and because Alex is wanting to desperately get the truth for Grave Encounters, he's making some kind of torture porn film, and he doesn't like it because Saw did it, and so, you know, he's tired of the old cliche stuff. So one day he gets an email from from Death Awaits, and they give him the coordinates to the mental asylum, which actually I did not know, but it's in frickin' Canada. Another reason, don't go to Canada, because they have mental asylums that are empty and possessed with stuff. But it also gives that they find the mom's number of the actor who played Lance, and they call her, and so they go down to her town, and they talk to her, and at first she's like, you know, he's going to be here any minute, and then when they go into Sean's room, this caretaker comes in, and then we find out that she's crazy, she's demented, she's got dementia. So it's like in, actually I watched a review on Grave Encounters 2 today, and they brought up, this was actually a good scenario. If any of you have ever watched Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, like when he's trying to do some research on Ray Finkel, and he goes to his parents' house, and the mom's like, I'm expecting him home any minute. It was like that. She thinks that he's coming home any minute. And then, like, when they're getting kicked out, she's like, he'll be here, he's still at the hospital, when he gets back from the hospital, for the crazy people. So then all of a sudden, when he's making a YouTube review, or when he's making a blog, his printer starts acting up, and it prints him a music schedule to go talk to the guy who produced Grave Encounters. So he goes and talks to him, and at first he's a douche, but he says, I'll talk to you if it's not on camera. So then they have a meeting, and they find out that, like, they decided, because the footage was real, they decided to have a meeting, and we find out that, like, they decided to, like, make a living off of their deaths, off of the accident. They decided to, like, you know, like, make a sequel about, like, these people's lives, and the guy was pretty much a douche. And so then they get another message from Death Awaits, and it says to meet them in the asylum at 3 o'clock. Well, when they drive down to Canada, freaking Canada, I swear, Canada, they get onto the property, and then they're confronted by this cop, and he's like, you know, you need to leave. It's very dangerous around here. You know, there's asbestos and everything. So then they go back to the motel, and then they prepare to go at 3 in the morning. They sneak in with the bolt cutters, and then they start roaming around the asylum. They start making a documentary, and they start running around. Now, it takes them 45 minutes to get into the asylum, which is kind of what makes the film drag, which is kind of a downfall. But this film is interesting, like I said, but later on in the film, I started to lose interest. Like, they try to make sure that, like, they can never get separated. It's like they have foghorns, they have glow sticks, and we get a lot of the things from the first film, like a wall closes in, like where the hallway was. One thing though, they do go down to this floor, and it's like a children's ward, and I thought this was creepy. This was something new. This might have been a new floor or a room that they never went down in before, but like all of a sudden, like here's an example from the movie The Woman in Black, like all those kids' toys, like there was a rocking chair that was moving by itself, and that freaks me out. Dolls and stuff like that really freak me out. If there was a Raggedy Ann doll on this campus of MacU, I wouldn't set foot on the campus until the doll was gone. Yeah. So all of a sudden, like and then all of a sudden they turn around and there's this girl, like this little girl, she's brushing her hair, and she's like, my name's Katie. You want to play a game? And then she does like the frightening face, and then like they all start running. And then they lose Tessa, and how Tessa dies, it's really weird. She gets put in the same position that that Houston does, except she has a flashlight. She's not roaming around in darkness like he was. And, you know, she's fighting the ghost off, and I don't really get how she dies. I don't know if, like, the ghost plucks its fingers into her brain or something, but, like, she's kicking the ghost, and then all of a sudden, like, you hear her flesh rip, and then all of a sudden, like, it just does something to her, and she dies. Blood comes out of her eyes, out of her nose, out of her mouth, and then her body gets dragged away. And they go on the 4th floor, and Jared dies by getting sucked out the window. Oh, and by the way, when they're running from the little girl, the cop comes in, and he breaks in there, and he's getting ready to kick them all out. But Alex is so determined to finish this movie. He wants the footage from the hospital because he thinks Grave Encounters was real. And he's like, if I can find out that this is real, I will make this my film. This will be my horror film. This will be my movie. So, you know, he's desperate. He says to the officer, he's like, all these cameras, these are not mine. These are the school's. I need them. So he's desperate to get the tapes and everything. The cop tells him to stay put, and he gets his gun, and then when they're getting ready to leave, they hear rapid gunshots. So it's like when Matt went and disappeared in the first film with his flashlight, or with his camera stuff, they found the dude's flashlight and they found the bullets, but they didn't find the gun. Then after walking around some more, they find the cop, because like they walk by this room and like they see the electrical the shock treatment room, and like the cops getting shock treatment, and they turn it off. And this is where I kind of thought it was too much. It starts getting a little bit too out of hand. The cop's body gets caught on fire, and then they're just walking by trying to get out, and then a ghost breaks through the window and starts chasing them. But now here's where I actually started to get really interesting, because both of the two friends are dead, and they actually escape. They do escape, which I was like, huh. And I was interested. I was like, there's no way they escape. Okay, this is really getting interesting. They get back in their van and they start driving. And then they get back in the motel. And when they first arrived in the motel, they walked by this certain maid. Well, when they go in their room, like they're just leaving the hotel. They're done. They're not staying in town anymore. They're going home, pretty much. Like they're freaking scared. They're like, you know what? We're done. We're going home. We're leaving. They leave a lot of their stuff in the motel, like some of their clothes, and they start leaving. They get in the elevator, and I didn't notice this. I actually had to rewind back on my PS3 to watch it. But when they're leaving, the maid looks up at the security camera, and she's smiling. And I was like, wait, was she smiling? And here's what really creeped me. This was like another part of the movie that creeped me out. They get in the elevator, and they're just talking, and then when they get to the bottom floor where they're getting ready to step out of the motel, the door opens and they're back at the asylum. Like they're in the cave, or they're in the place like with all the pipes. They're in the bottom. And when the door opens, they're back in there. And I was like, okay, this just got a lot more interesting. Because, like, I don't know if, like, the asylum is attached to a certain part of the town or city, but that really freaked me out. Because, like, they're just in the elevator, and, like, it shows you them going back to the motel in their room. And then they get in the elevator, and then the door opens, and they're back. And one other thing that makes this film interesting is because they have so much other cameras. They have like the thermal vision or something like that. It's like it's not like night vision, but it's like it can see through walls and everything. And so they see it, and then all of a sudden this guy comes running up, and it's Sean. It's the guy who played Lance from Grave Encounters, and he has been in the asylum for 10 freaking years. Oh, and also another thing, how you can, and like they show you that all of this really happened because that same rat that Sean ate near the end of the movie when he hit it with the pole, that's still there. So, Sean's like got all this calendar, like he's made like this kind of like this calendar, and he's drew this big red door on the wall, and he's like, Kenny's got the keys. Kenny's got the keys. We do find out that Kenny committed suicide. So I don't know, like maybe it was a ghost of Kenny or something that let them in, and that's why they can never get out. They don't really ever say. But now they have Sean, who's been through the building, and he says that the building keeps changing itself. Now they did say that in the first film, but the way how they do it in this film, I just didn't like it. Like for example, He's like, look, if we can get through this big red door, and it's just like a door just sitting there, like it's not attached to anything. It's basically like a prop. It's basically like they just made a door, And so he's like, we got to get the bolt cutters. So he opens a certain door amount of times, and then the room changes. He takes a pole and he breaks down a part of the wall, and then Trevor goes through the hole and he falls to the ceiling. I was like, what? No. I just didn't really care for. And they find the bolt cutters, and then they all get separated. They don't get separated, but they go to sleep. And this is when I lost all interest. Because all of a sudden, they're all sleeping, and Alex sets up cameras just to make sure nothing happens, or if something happens, they'll see it. The ghost picks up the camera, and I just did not like this. And we see that, like, Sean is talking to the ghost, and the ghost is like, kill them, we'll let you go, or something like that. And Trevor goes to make a last will and testament, and Sean kills him. He's like, sorry, but I have to leave. I cannot be stuck here. So he kills Trevor, and then Sean goes and takes all their equipment, and they also have this big map. They have this map of the asylum. And so now it's up to Jenna and Alex to get out. Or find Sean to try to get out, pretty much. So now Sean's talking to the ghost, and the ghost is like, get the tapes. They're like, kill them all and we'll let you go. Get the tapes, we'll let you go. He gets the bolt cutters and he cuts the chain of the door, and he calls the ghost a liar and everything. So then basically they get down back to the basement, and then there's Sean, and he's like, I gotta have the tapes. I have to leave. You guys are going to stay here, and I'm going to leave. And so it's like this big anticlimax. Like, we see, like, the cameras raise up, and then Sean starts trying to kill Alex, and then Jenna hits him in the head with a pole, and then all of a sudden, and this is where I really I didn't care anymore after this. There's a portal that opens up. And, you know, if it was like a portal to the outside world or something, you know, that I would have been okay with, I guess, maybe. But it's a portal to some other realm, and Sean gets sucked through it. And I was like, what? No, why? Why do this? Because, like, if it was like a portal to the outside, I would have been like, But he's trapped somewhere else, and I really didn't care. And so now, all of a sudden, Alex is crazy because the ghost says, finish the film, finish the film. And, before this, when they were looking at the map with Alex, Alex tells him to stay from the emergency ward. And they're having to read the map. In order to get back to the basement, they have to go through the emergency room. And this scene, I could not watch. And not because I didn't like it, or because it was disturbing, or because like I hated it. It was disturbing. They find the room where Dr. Freakin is. He's always in. I think they said that he always stays in that one part of the asylum. So as long as you don't go there, you're fine. But like they show footage of him doing treatments on someone who didn't need the treatment that he was doing. They get a baby, and then there's a pentagram on the ceiling, and they kill the baby. And then the doctor and them start chasing after him, and that's how they get down to the basement. And so then, like, Sean starts going crazy, and not Sean, but Alex starts going crazy, and he's basically like, only one person can live. So he kills her by stabbing her in the head with a pole, and then all of a sudden, a door opens, and then he's outside. And then he turns around, and it's that red door, and it collapses, and then he winds up back in the streets of LA, and then there's an interview about him and the producer, and he's like, don't go to this place, there's nothing there. And so, yeah, that's the end of the movie. Now, before that, it shows Alex in his film and, like, what he does. The actor, and I'm not going to lie, the girl, she was okay. When she was scared, you could tell she was, like, she was believable when she was scared. But when she was in when she was in Alex's movie, oh gosh, she was a horrible actress, and the dude was horrible. His dialogue was like, gosh, I know this is like the year that your dad disappeared, but you gotta get over that. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, you are a horrible actor unless the dialogue says act badly. Because then if so, you did a great job. But just, if you're going to watch this film, watch the first one first, of course. I mean, I liked the concept, and it turns out that this was all a movie. You know, this was all a movie, and Alex came to the director. He's like, this is the sequel to Grave Encounters. And I don't mind it that it's a sequel that it's a sequel involving a sequel. You know, I don't mind that. Just because, like, in the first film, like, when they made it, like, the place switches on you, and like the mansion or like the asylum rearranges itself, how it did it was much more scary, and it was just creepier instead of like, you know, like knocking a hole in the wall and then all of a sudden it's a portal to another floor. I just didn't really care for that. But other than that, it's an okay film. If you're wanting to spend a Halloween night watching movies, it's just something that you have to see to kind of believe. But I'm hoping that we do get a Grave Encounters 3, even though I didn't like the second one. The first one is the best. But guys, this has been another episode of Phenomenal Views. Put in the comments below, if you have watched Grave Encounters 2, what did you think? Did you like the fact that a lot of the stuff happened, or did you not like it? I really want to know, guys. I hope you have a good night, and I hope that you guys have a happy Thanksgiving.